Hello and welcome to the Jeep and Bubba podcast. I'm your host, Brad Jeep and Bubba Coron, and this is being brought to you by Black Bear Off-Road. We are back with an all-new podcast. Well, it's not new, but we're coming back with a refreshed podcast, let's say that. We've got a new mic, new headphones, and a new recording software. We're hoping to bring back the podcast in its greatest form possible. We're in the new Black Bear Off-Road location, which is at 239 East Marino. If you're watching this, you can see behind me that the lights are turned off in the shop. That little glare you're seeing is some fluorescent lights in the office. But if you're listening to us, you won't know that we just moved here recently to 239 East Marino, and we've been at 219 East Marino, which is right next to us, down a shop. We're still in that location as well, but the office is moving up here. We got a lot nicer office. And I bought some new recording gear, and I said, hey, let's bring back the podcast with a whole different style, basically. So what we're going to do is once a month, you're going to hear from me on this format, and then once a month, you're going to hear another format where basically we bring in new guests or old guests, folks have been on before, and we do interviews. So twice a month, expect to hear from us. I'm going to try to drop these midweek, put them out on YouTube, put them out on all the places you can hear your podcast, and hopefully make the best podcast we possibly can. So on this format, you'll hear things like news, things I'd like you to know, upcoming shows, different things like that. I'd like to bring something fresh and new every time we talk on here, off-road related, Jeep related, and hopefully bring you some insights with this longer format that I'm not typically able to share on YouTube videos. So the other nice thing about the software I'm using is we're able to take little snips from this and share it on other social media areas. And the biggest thing I want to do, obviously, is connect with my community. And what helps is that this software should help us be able to spread the videos and the audio on more platforms than just recording it as I was before, basically on something called Podcasters, where it just goes out onto Spotify, and then that's all I can do with it. So that's what we're working on here. Let's get into today's show. So, again, this is the new format where you just got me. Next time, expect there to be a guest in the video right next to me. I know I'm going to be working to get Justin from Detailers Products in on this. I'm going to get S3 Mag on this. And as many of you may or may not know, I am a contributor. I'm also kind of a technical expert, off-road guy. If you went on the S3 Mag website, I am the off-road department of S3 Mag. And S3 Magazine is a magazine that's completely digital. There's an app. It's a free app. You can download it, and you can get great content like write-ups on new vehicles, write-ups on things that are on top of our mind, cultural things, industry things. And it used to be a print magazine. I subscribed. I had a subscription to it in high school and loved it. I was an import guy. I was all into that culture. And then as print started to fade, Wooly and Mike decided, hey, it's just not cost effective for us to print this magazine. So they went digital with it. And so I have been a constant contributor for them on their TikTok, writing articles and whatnot. So I'd love to have them on here and talk to them about that. But this is an opportunity to also tell you it's a great app to download. It's absolutely free. And we hope to share more content like this on there as well, because we like to think that we have a little bit of touch on our industry, whether it's just localized or on a broader spectrum. And it's really cool to have a community like I have, which is not a large one, but we have a lot of folks that I get to ride with, go to Jeep nights with, shows with, and whatnot, that and customers that we're able to connect with and I've made lifelong friends with. And it's through doing things like this, the podcast, YouTube videos, and then outside of that, Jeep nights, and then also through S3 Mag. So that's the whole idea. We would like to bring a little bit, this is being honest, a little bit more attention to what we're doing with our social media, because this year we're doing a build unlike anything I've done before. And not to say that it's a better build than what we've done before, but we're documenting it in a different way. So I'd like to give you guys updates on that, and I'd like to keep that series rolling. because, if you know me at all, or this is your first time listening, I've got a blue Jeep JL, and we've built it over the last 3 or 4 years. We wheeled it, and it's changed in many different ways. And I've taken pictures, and I've shared a few videos on it. But what we're doing different with this Jeep Comanche is we're going to be documenting it the whole way through and showing you kind of everything, not how-to videos, but like bringing you along for the build and what we're doing on it. And then on top of that, we're going to be bringing it to shows, to events. I'm getting a phone call from Silver Dollar Lee. He's just going to have to wait because we're on the podcast. We'll shoot him a message. I'll call you back because we're on the podcast. He's going to have to wait. So maybe we'll have Lee on here sometime. That'd be fun. So anyways, we're going to be documenting, and then we're going to take it to the shows in whatever form it's in. So at Jeep Beach, we'll have it in one form, at Smoky Mountain another form, and then at SEMA, which is the final unveiling of it, is going to be, in a separate, it's finished. It's got to be finished, and it's got to be drivable, and it's going to be a cool build. So I'll fill you guys in on that just a little bit here soon. So let's get right into it. I'm going to start off, I think, every episode like this. And again, bear with me a little bit because I'm fresh back into doing my own podcast, and so I might change these things up as we go. But let's get into it. So I want to cover some things in the news, and I've got I love to have field notebooks. I've got my little field notebook here, some things that I've kind of been keeping an eye on and looking at. So one thing I'd like to mention is the Jeep CEO. So I don't know if you guys know or follow along, but car sales have not been good this year, last year, 2024. And everyone's hoping 2025 will be a better year for car sales. And there's a couple reasons for that. Interest rates were atrocious. Nobody wanted to buy cars. A little bit of unrest in the financial world. People not knowing what's coming next and who's going to be the next president and this and that. But there's also a lot of mandates coming from the federal government. A lot of folks know about the EV mandates, California being a big pusher of that as well. So one thing that we've seen is just a lower amount of sales in the Jeep world. And what we've seen here at Black Bear Off-Road, here's our little insight, is when we started we opened the shop 5 years ago. Black Bear Off-Road's existed for 7 years now. And when we started the shop, we got a lot of new vehicles. And what we've seen over the last 2 years, I'd say, is a lot more people keeping their vehicle. They put money into it, and they are just modifying what they have. Now, we still see new vehicles, but I would definitely say new vehicle sales have affected us here. We're working on less new vehicles and a lot more of ones like JKs and things like that. People had sitting around, they decided not to trade them in and just fix them up and get them running and driving or upgrade them, that kind of thing. So the Jeep CEO was basically let go. They told him we're not gonna renew your contract or whatever. And he's actually used to work at Nissan. He's back at Nissan, and he's running the USA brand for Nissan now. And I didn't write his name down, but in September, the board named a new CEO. And I got his name down here, and I hope that I wrote it in a way that I can read it. Antonio, I'm going to say Filosa. It's an Italian name. He is from Italy. He went to school there, and he's going to be running the Jeep brand. Of course, there'll be a Jeep brand North America guy, and I don't have that written down here. But one thing he said that he wanted to do for 2025 and ramping up Jeep sales is to do 0% interest, lower pricing, and we've all wanted that because all we've seen is the pricing on these vehicles going up and up and up. And I'll tell you that the used market on Jeep has always been a good market. They've held their value, and I'm seeing it for the first time I've been into Jeeps 13 years now. I got my first Jeep. I have not seen them going down. I'm not saying new vehicles, but I haven't seen the used market going down as much as I've seen it in the last few months. And I'm starting to see the new vehicle prices going down as well, especially in a Jeep Gladiator. I think if you want a Gladiator, probably now is your time to buy, or the next few months. When those interest rates lower, we might see that pricing going back up. And he also says he is wanting to improve quality. So I think that's the three things that we want to see from Jeep as well. He made some mention of increasing marketing and advertising, and forming more of a brand, working with the brand. We want to see that too, because I've seen some advertising out of them that is really not on brand. And I think one thing that would be really cool and interesting is if you looked at the Jeep Badge of Honor app. And if you're not familiar with it, it's an app that Jeep offers. You can check in when you get to certain trails that they have listed, and they'll send you a hard badge in the mail. I've got a bunch of them right here on my wall. And I think if you looked at that app and you said, look, we've got these guys that have traveled all over the world to get these badges, all over the United States, to get these badges. These are our brand. These are our enthusiasts. If you went to Jeep Beach, you went to Smoky Mountain Jeep Invasion, you would see this is our brand. It's not just all ducks and lights, and that's part of it, the culture too. But there's these off-roaders, and they're true to brand. Why not bring some of those folks in? Why not bring in, some of the guys in the top 100 on the list? I'm not there yet. I'm working on it. But some of those guys say, hey, these guys are active. Do any of these guys have YouTube channels? If any of these guys got some personality where maybe we could film a commercial with them or get their personal experiences instead of like being woke or pandering to, and this isn't a political podcast in any means, shape, or form, but instead of pandering to modern society, I think I'll tell you, my customer base is every race, creed, color, whatever. That's what I love about Jeep. But one thing that they all love, and the reason they bought a Jeep is because a Jeep is the least practical vehicle on the planet. They love the idea of adventure and freedom. And I think that's what Jeep is all about. I think they need to get back to that and capture it. Now, they just released the new Jeep Avenger. This is something you're going to see overseas. It may make it here. It's a decent looking vehicle. I think it's going to be a hybrid. They got a full electric, so that's coming out soon. Not really concerned about that, but what they do have that's out now is the new 41 4xe. Now, I don't want a 4xe, but they're kind of cool. It's an electric vehicle. It only gets 22 miles of range, but it checks all the boxes if you need an electric vehicle for, let's say, taxes or what have you. But what I do like is they've rolled out this new 41 green color. And if you look at the new 41 4xe, which if you haven't seen it, I was watching some videos this past week. Check out Dirt Road Cred's write-up on it, or a YouTube video on it. It's got some cool badging. It's got some awesome factory-looking wheels. They're aluminum, but they look steel. They're like an OD green. But that 41 green is supposed to look like that 1941 Willys, the same kind of color. They've done a lot of things in the interior that's different than the rest of the Jeeps. I like seeing that kind of innovation. And I will say that I'll be in the market next year for a new Jeep, and I would be surprised if it wasn't 41 green. That's what I want. I want that color, and it's kind of a green tan. I keep calling it 41 green. It's 41 is just a color code. It's kind of a green tan. I love some of the greens they've been doing, the Sarge green, things like that, but I'm in love with that 41. So I would definitely check that out. Speaking of CEOs in the same family as Stellantis, there is a new CEO at Ram. His first name's Tim, and I did not write his last name down, but he used to be the CEO at Ram. And when some of the things that have been happening with Stellantis started happening, he said, look, I'm out of here. I don't want to deal with this. And they've brought him back. And one of the first things he said is he kind of whispered about a Hemi coming back, because they've been talking about killing the Hemi. And now we're seeing that we're having a new president coming in here, and one of the first things he says he's going to do is roll back those EV mandates. The whole auto industry is being changed by that, because they're looking at the fact that they don't have to have, all these EVs set up by 2030 or whatever. If he's rolling that back, he's rolling back some of the emission mandates from prior administrations, then it all of a sudden opens up the window to, okay, we're going to still be pushing some hybrids. We're still working towards EV, but we can keep our Hemis. And I don't know for how long, but I would love to see that. I've got it in my truck. It's a fun motor. We've got customers with the 392s in their Jeeps. I'd love to see that hang around a little bit longer. And I'm excited about the new inline six. Of course, they're already putting in the Wagoneer, and it's having problems. So we need to work that inline six out a little bit more. Obviously, traditionally, The 4.0 was a good motor. The inline six. I'd love to see the new one, the 3.0, which you can get in a single or twin turbo or NA. I'd like to see that be the same rock solid motor that the 4.0 was. And of course, with all the modern bells and whistles and the computers and the gadgets and the sensors, it's going to be hard to get there. But an inline six can be a reliable motor. They're torquey, and I'm excited to see that where that goes. But let's keep the Hemi around a little bit longer. And they're working on some cool things over at Ram. One thing S3 covered on, they were kind of beating on a little bit, and I get it, that they're talking about doing these range extending trucks. So basically a fully electric truck with basically a generator on the back of it, inside of it, wherever you want to put it, that's going to give it a motor that it range extends it. So here you go. We'll just keep the motor. But here's what's cool about it. It's locomotive technology. Basically, you think about it like this. You've got these batteries that can go 200-300 miles, and then you've got a gas tank that'll extend you another 200-300 miles as well. And you're not getting any of the power from the motor. The motor that's in there, the generator, whatever you want to call it, it's just charging those batteries up and giving you some extension. So you can get out on a trail and know that you can do 300 miles, and then you don't have to go find a charge-up station. You know that you're running off the gas. Well, a generator puts out way less emissions, is way more effective, way more efficient than, it's just sitting at idle. It's not revving. It's going to be pretty easy to service. I think this is cool technology. I'm still going to be a pure gasser. My wife has an electric vehicle, not for any political reason. We just thought, hey, this is like the cheapest way. The lease payments were great on it. It was a good way to get her into a vehicle. She likes it. We just plug it in our garage. We just use it on a regular plug-in. She hardly drives, 10, 20 miles a day, if that, and it's perfect. And I think that's where we'll head to in the future. Maybe one spouse who just does the daily drive and has an EV or a hybrid, and then maybe one that drives further or goes. You have a family vehicle, you do trips or off-roading. I think that's really the future. We need a little bit of blend of both. To extend, we just don't have the infrastructure for full electric, right? And so we want to keep this petroleum going, and we've only got so much of it, but then we just don't have all the energy to power all the cars. So there needs to be a little bit of both, and obviously there's other options out there, hydrogen, natural gas, things like that, but propane, what have you. So just some food for thought on what's going on at Stellantis right now. One thing I want to cover in the industry, and I've done some short videos on this, was ARB USA. So you've heard of ARB, ARB lockers, diff covers. They also own the brand Old Man Emu, which is a suspension company. And they're based out of Australia. ARB USA is the USA division of that. And they, for a long time, have made a good quality product. They have bought into ORW, also known as Off-Road Warehouse. And Off-Road Warehouse was started by a guy named Greg Adler, whose father started 4-Wheel Parts. And Greg was actually on the board. He ran 4-Wheel Parts for many years. He then went his own way right before the merger with Wheel Pros. Wheel Pros is a big company. You know them from, they own Fuel Wheels, Black Rhino. They bought Terraflex. They're a huge company. There's a big warehouse for them right here in Buford, where we're at. And they bought Hoonigan. And they have recently, I'm kind of getting ahead of myself, but they recently filed bankruptcy. They've had money issues, problems, what have you. And so they had bought 4-Wheel Parts basically because they wanted the wholesale division of it called Transamerican Wholesale. Shops like myself buy from wholesalers all the time. Transamerica was one, Meyer, Keystone, Premier, people like that. So they bought it. They had all these 4-Wheel Parts stores. Some of them bought, sold, whatever. So recently ORW went in. They bought like 43 of the remaining stores. And in the process, ARB is like, all right, well, we're going to buy half of ORW. Then you'll have the funding to, boom, go and buy these 4-Wheel Parts stores. We don't know if they're going to be ORW stores. What they're going to be named. I'm guessing they're going to be ORW stores. But in that little deal that they did, they bought Poison Spider. So Poison Spider was my competition for a while. I used to work at JCR Off-Road. And Poison Spider was the creme de la creme, best best bumpers around, awesome stuff. You see my Motobilt dealer sticker over my head. I mean, think that kind of quality, like Motobilt. And then they got bought by 4 Wheel Parts, which at the time I think was owned by Polaris. And everyone's afraid they're going overseas. Well, what they didn't go overseas. What they did was they just went out of business. They just quit producing and making. And it's like, why are these companies buying these brands just to run them into the ground? Well, what's cool is ARB is saying they are bringing Poison Spyder back, and they want to keep the styling of Poison Spyder, because traditionally an ARB bumper is a very Australian overland style, big, thick, heavy bush bumper, right? And the Poison Spyder is a sleek rock crawler Jeep kind of brand, and they're talking about bringing these Poison Spyder bumpers also out for trucks and SUVs as well. So something exciting there coming to you from the industry. That's our news segment for the day. I hope you liked it. What's going to be kind of neat and cool about this podcast is if you're watching on YouTube, you're able to leave comments and let me know what you think about it, and then I can, come in here and tweak it and get it tuned up just right for you. But I always like to bring a little bit industry insight, things I'm hearing in the industry, and of course, we have a whole month of news and industry topics to come back to you, so can't wait to share those with you next month. One thing I'd like to cover, and is something a segment I'm calling Things I'd Like You to Know. So there's things I think of when I'm riding in my truck on the way to work or headed home, and I'm like, you know what? I'd like for customers or people, consumers, I'd like for followers, people out there, the general public, to know from a business perspective or a business owner's perspective, or someone working in the industry, mechanic, whatever, things that I would like you to know. And I don't know where else I could put those on there, be honest about them, other than on a podcast. So take them with a grain of salt. They're just thoughts I've had. So when I was working on ideas for the podcast throughout, the winter, I have another little field notes book. And I was just writing things I'd like you to know and blah, blah. And one of the things I wrote down was, I'm busy, but I'm available, so don't judge me. Now, that's a little complicated sentence. I'm busy, but I'm available, but don't judge me. I kind of whittled that down to another little thing that, response times on messages, calls, and text. Okay, so what am I talking about here? Okay, so different shops have different amount of salespeople. Different companies have different amount of salespeople. So here at my shop, I've got 2 mechanics. I just hired a third one. We'll get into him a little bit later in the podcast when I talk about Black Bear Off-Road. And I'm the only sales guy. I'm the owner. I'm the sales guy. I do the marketing. I clean the toilets. I take the boxes out, the trash out. I host all of our Jeep nights. I do trail cleanups and trail rides. And I'm kind of the glue for putting my friends together when it's like going on these big trips. I'm the organizer. I get hired out to do recovery gear classes, trail. I get hired out to be a trail guide. There's shows, events, all this stuff. I'm a dad, I'm a father, a husband, and I've got responsibilities at home. So I got a lot of things going on. And a lot of people have my cell phone number, whether it's the shop phone or it's my personal number, and they've got my email, and they've got my DMs or whatever. And sometimes I get a little bit frustrated, mostly at night and on the weekends when folks hit me up. And occasionally a customer gets that personal number, which I call the bat phone, because I don't just give my personal number out to everybody. And sometimes my personal number gets given out to a customer. And the reason it bothers me is because, like, this week, there's a guy. I'm afraid he might be listening to this, so I gotta be gentle with this. But I knew him before I had the business, and so he has my personal number. And he's texting me at 9 p.m., 10 p.m. I'm either eating dinner, or he's 8 o'clock. I'm trying to put the kids to bed, whatever. I'm at home on the couch with the wife, and he's asking me questions about a Jeep. Now, I got 2 ways to think about this, right? He wants a response right now. I'm a business owner. I got to make money to keep these lights on, to keep everything going. I need to respond to him. And then I'm like, wait, no, I have to have a personal life too. I have to have my space or whatever. And then I think, well, actually, the reason he's texting you right now is because it's on his mind, but he doesn't expect you to text or call him right back. It's nighttime. So you can do this tomorrow. You can set your own boundaries, Brad. What are you so worked up and worried about, right? And so that's what I'm talking about. And so I've actually mentioned this to friends and family, and I've mentioned it on older podcasts and stuff like that. And the response I've gotten is not good. And let me explain. It's mostly friends and family this is coming from that they show up at the shop like, hey, I want to show you this new light I just got on my Jeep. Hey, I want to show you this new thing I just got for my Jeep. And I'm like, that's awesome. It looks fantastic. Why didn't you buy that from me? And they go, I know you're busy. Man, my heart sinks when I hear that. I just got to be honest because that's why I'm here, to help my friends and family first. I want to be here and serve my customers, and a lot of my friends and my family are my customers, and it's mostly friends. I'm scratch out family, but sometimes like my grandma, she's a sweet lady. She's needed tires for like 6 months, and she's like, I just don't want to bother him. I know he's busy. Yeah, I'm busy, but I'm here to serve you guys. And so I would like to instantly respond to every one of you. And sometimes emails get backed up where I don't respond for 2 days. Sometimes DMs that come in over the weekends might take till Tuesday till you get them. But I hate to know that Amazon got your sale and not me. And here's what I do, and this is straight up honest. Okay, let's just say that okay, I'm gonna bring this back out later. But this is a soft shackle from OVS, Overland Vehicle Systems, okay? Let's say, it's $30. It says it on the tag right there, okay? I think retail's a little bit more. I got it marked. I usually mark them down a little bit. But let's say it's $40 is what this soft shackle retails for. Okay, so what I like to do is I got margin because I buy so much from different wholesalers, or maybe I'm direct with a company. Let's say Motobilt, JKS Suspension, Fox Shocks, whatever. So I'm not sure what my margin is on that OVS, but let's say it's 30%. So for me to make a living off selling that soft shackle, I need to make 20%. Because figured into that 20% is things like card processing fees, taxes, storing them on the shelf. There's some money that just disappears, having the overhead of the building, having employees, different things like that. So I have kind of figured out that if we're going to make a living doing this, I need to make 20%. So why don't I give the other 10% to my customer or my friends or family? I do. That's what I do. So if there's a product out there and I have if I can make a living on 20 and someone walks in the door, now Joe Schmo off the street, they're like, hey, how much is this lift kit? Normally, I'm 3-5% off of what you can find it for online because I want to be competitive. I want to give them a reason to get that thing installed here and buy their products, parts, whatnot from me. There's twofold for that. One, I make a living doing it. Two, if I provide the products, 99% of the time, 98, 97, I order the right products. It's here on time. I don't need any extra pieces or parts, and we're good to go. Guy brought me a Jeep today. He brought me a winch with a winch plate. It was from a previous vehicle. It's missing a roller fairlead. It's missing a negative cable. He didn't bring the remote for it. And so now we got to wait 2 days. Not a complaint. I have no problem with that. But now me and him have to both wait another 2 days before I can give him his Jeep back because I got to get these products ordered in. If I have something on the shelf, boom, I give it to you. We get you out of here. So I'd much rather provide the products because it makes it a smoother transaction. Now, some people come in and they're just wanting to buy something or something they saw online. They might install it themselves. So they think, well, I'll just buy it. I'm not going to bother him with this. Or I get it. Sometimes a friend will DM me and they're like, hey, how much can you get this for? And then it's like 12, 16 hours, 24 hours before I respond. They're like, I want it now. I'm just buying it. He didn't respond right off the bat. I understand that. I have a hard time with that too. But one thing I do is if I have a friend that owns a business, the first person I'm going to support is that friend. I needed a door put in here at my new shop. There was a window I wanted a door right into my office. First call handyman, my buddy Lee, Silver Dollar, he hit me up earlier. Hey, let's put this door in. I didn't ask him a price. Just asked, hey, I didn't even ask him when he could do it. put the door in for me. I could have found someone else, maybe cheaper, probably not, maybe done faster, who knows? Doesn't matter. He's my friend. I want to support him. And what that does is not only does it support me personally, my family, the families that I employ, but it also puts it back into your community. And what does that mean? Like, well, we do Jeep nights at least once a month during the summer, if not 2 or 3 times. We do trail rides that are group trail rides. No one pays for that. You know what I mean? Like trail cleanups where we picking up trash. Last year, Rhino USA gave us a bunch of trash bags. I appreciate that. But that's the first time. I usually pay for gloves, trash bags. I dispose of the trash after I put it all together. So I don't do those things with expectations because I would get let down, and because I'm also doing it as a giving thing. It's not for me to get back. But when you buy personally from me, you're putting back into that community. We're going to go out and do these events and trail rides, and I get hit up all the time. It's like, hey, when's the next trail ride? When's the next this? And it's like, I got a million things going. I'll put it together when I can. I hope you're available. That's that. So, it's a double-edged sword. It's a catch-22. I got to be available. I've got to get to you. My point is, even when it doesn't, I'm talking from a personal side, right? But like, anytime you message someone, even if it's not Jeep parts, or whatever it is, give them a little grace period. If they're a small business owner, they're probably wearing a lot of hats and they're juggling a lot of things. And if they just straight up ignore you or ghost you, okay, you got to move on. But if you give them a chance, odds are they're going to work with you. And just know that you're helping support more than just getting that item from them. And it makes a big difference to them. It makes the world go round. The other day, it was about to snow here. My friend Don Purdy showed up. He bought some recovery gear for me. I know he had to drive a little ways to get over here. He didn't shop it around. He came here and got what was on the shelf. It makes a huge difference. And then, like, when we sell stuff that we have to buy, we only have so much showroom space, very little. A little more here than at the old shop. And we buy this stuff and we sit on it. And I can't buy any more new or exciting things until I sell it because I have no room to put anything. So there's so much things that go into it. But what I hate is, like I told you earlier, like, even if it's not just buying something from me, like, oh, well, I got these tires mounted over at so-and-so, I didn't want to bother you. That breaks my heart because I do this for a living. I'm here for you. I want to be, the best place on the market for you to get it. I'm your friend. Our customers have become our friends. They go out with us on trail rides. And it's like, when I look up, this past weekend we went and rode in the snow a little bit. I looked up down the trail and I'm like, I worked on that one. I worked on that one. I worked on that one. And it's cool. It's a great feeling, of pride and a sense of accomplishment. And it's, I don't know. Maybe you get what I'm saying. I hope this didn't come off too self-centered or self-promoting, but I wanted to give you guys that perspective. I know I've touched on it before, and this is, when I run through the list here of up-and-comings, it's like shop etiquettes, explaining different things. I've got a whole list, and I'm going to keep adding to them, and I'd like to hear you guys' reactions and responses, or things maybe you're like, hey, why do mechanics always seem angry or cranky? Or like, why do mechanics not want to talk to people? Or like, why aren't we allowed out in the shop? Why can't I also help you? Oh man, I need to go over this one, but like, I get requests like maybe once a month, like, hey, I'd like to get you to do my lift kit, but I just like to come out there and watch you, and so I can learn. Is that okay? And I have to say no, and they sometimes understand. Sometimes they're like, what? Seriously? Oh, man, I'll sign a waiver, whatever. And that's a whole other topic. We'll look. I'll write it down right now, and we'll cover it. So that's the idea of the things I want you to know. So watching build. Okay. Got it. Okay, we're gonna cover it. So now you don't have to worry. Let's move on. Comanche update. So, I laid out a YouTube video of kind of everything we want to do in this, and there's more I want to cover with you guys. I want to talk to you guys about Ranger Bob, the kind of the character behind the build. But today I'm just going to tell you about what the first step is on getting this thing going. So the first step is we are going to put an AX15 transmission in the Comanche. So what is that? It's a really good manual transmission. You could have found it in some Wranglers, Cherokees. And why do I want to do that? Well, what came in the Comanche is a Peugeot BA10, which is not a good transmission. This will be I put two, well, there's one bad one in there. We put another one in it. It failed pretty quickly. They were weak. They didn't like big tires. And the AX15 I got is from a 98 Jeep Cherokee. We need some adapter parts, some whatever, but these are really strong manual transmissions. I wanted to keep this truck manual. I love a manual truck, a little pickup, running around. So what we're going to do is pull the old one out, put this one in. Once that transmission's in, I'm sure it's going to need a battery in it. I'm trying to decide, do I want to just go to O'Reilly's and grab one, or maybe pick up an Optima, or there's actually an Optima yellow top in it, but I'm sure it can't have juice in it. Maybe we'll check it. It's got, or maybe they put an Odyssey or something like that, or NOCO or whatever. So we got to put a battery in it. We have robbed parts off that front end of that thing, so it's missing links for the anti-rock. It needs some builder parts for the cab fab steering. So those things, it's right off the bat what we got to do. Then run down to the gas station, put fresh gas in it, maybe change the oil in it, and I'll drive it for like a week or so. Remember all the things that need to get fixed on it, and then we'll be back at it. The main thing is we've got Jeep Beach in like 90 days, and it's got to be in the Can Cut Drill Bits booth. And I want it there with me driving it there. So we got to get it running and driving. And then we'll add on the other stuff. I've got a Chrysler 8 1/4 that's going in the rear. We're going to work on a lift kit, bigger tires. Not sure we're going to have wheels picked out or in by then. Not sure if the fender flares are going to be on. I know we're not going to have time to paint it or wrap it, whatever I decide to do. There's going to be a lot of accessories going on it, and that'll be what you get to see out at Smoky Mountain Jeep Invasion. But we got to get it running and driving, and I'd like to have it a little bit bigger with a little bit bigger tires on it. So that's the plan and the goal for the Comanche. So February 1st, let's get right into Black Bear Off-Road updates. February 1st, my friend Austin Carr is going to be starting working for us, and he is going to be working strictly on maintenance. Now, we still don't offer oil changes. I signed in a lease agreement. We wouldn't do oil changes. Basically, someone left 300 gallons of waste oil here. My landlord didn't like that, and he said, I know you're going to have to do some gear jobs here and there. There's going to be some oil. I don't want them sitting around. Get rid of the waste oil, but I really don't want, motor oil. I don't want you guys doing oil changes. I'm respecting his wishes. This is his building. The old shop is his building. He kind of owns a couple buildings up and down the street and quite a few in town. And but maintenance-wise, valve cover gaskets, oil filter housings, brake jobs, alignments, things along that line. We're going to be offering a service where we do nut and bolt checks. If you've been out wheeling and you think something might have got loose, we're going to go through. We're going to check, 100 different bolts on the vehicle, make sure all the torque specs are good. And with that, Austin's going to be putting a little lift down in my old shop. And we never thought we could have a lift down there, but he has found a single post. I kind of helped him find it. It looks like a pallet jack. You slide out, it's got a single post, got 4 arms on it, and you can lift the vehicle up. There's some clearance issues with maybe being able to pull the trans out or not. So I'm like, hey, why not on his first week get him to pull the trans out of that Comanche? But I can't wait to have him in here. The reason I really, really needed a maintenance guy, and he's a great mechanic. He can do a lot more than that. I could have him in here putting lift kits in. But we typically are booked out 3 to 4 weeks at a time. Right now, we're 2.5 weeks booked. So into January, last week of January, there are 2 days left in this month I could possibly get you in. Today is the 14th. So I got 2 days left in the whole month. If you call me and say, hey, Brad, my brakes are scrubbing. And I say, can you make it 2 weeks? Can you make it 3 weeks? Hey, Brad, I need 1 tire put on the front. I got a flat. Man, can you wait a week? That don't work. You're going to have to go down to, God forbid, Mavis or something like that. And not all these guys know how to work on 4-wheel drive vehicles. They might have some good mechanics. I don't know. I'd like to be the guy that can do that for you. And so when we got Austin, what we're hoping is, yeah, come in Tuesday. Hey, come in next Thursday. Boom, we'll get you in today. Bring it down. That's the kind of service we want to offer maintenance-wise. Now, lift kits, people are fine to wait 2 weeks. They don't care. They're like, yeah, I just want the best job done. I'm going to have it lifted and drive this Jeep for the next 4 or 5 years, and I want it done right. Sure. And it gives us time to order parts, get people in here, get everything in here so that when you get your Jeep in here, and it's always been this way, we get the part. We already have the parts. We have everything we need. We know you're coming. We got you on the board. There's a whiteboard on the other side of my office here. It's got everything for the week, and you're in and out, and it's done. Boom. Easy. So that's what we're bringing. That's the kind of update for the shop. I will say we've been working with a couple different vendors and brands, and I'm very excited about 2025. Empower, CanCut, JKS, a lot of these folks that we've been working with through the years. I think we're going to be stepping our game up with them. S3, I've got every year, it's in this book, one of my little field notes here. You know, I write down my goals, things I'd like to do. First page is God, where I want to get spiritually. Family, things I like to work on with them. Work. And when I get under work, there's a goal for what I want to do financially for the year. And it's a big goal. We grew by 50% this year. I'd like to grow another 30% this year. So we grew 50% in 2024. I'd like to grow another 30, 40%. And then I write down, you'll see this on camera. You won't see this if you're listening to the mic. It's kind of blurry. My social media goals. And you're like, oh, that's silly. But it's like, I was told by a pretty successful guy who was vice president of a company, if you don't have a goal, you don't have a plan, how do you know where you're going? So I like to write down, how many followers I'd like to end up by the end of the year on different social media platforms. And then the year I look at how we did and did we reach our goals and what can we do better next year to get there. And social media is a weird thing because you want to grow in followers, but it's kind of a vain thing. There's a little bit of vanity involved in that. You want to, it's like kind of putting yourself higher up in front of the line or whatever. But if you're doing good, okay, if you're doing good things for people and you're educating and entertaining them or whatever, you don't just want to be hidden away in a closet, right? And some people are doing it for money, fame, what have you. When I started my YouTube channel, which started me off on this social media journey, I just thought I have a fun, pretty cool, interesting life. The time I was working for JCR Off-Road, I got to do a lot of Jeep events, and I'm like, let me just document this. And that's been my whole motto and plan for the last 7-8 years. Just document the journey. And I think that worked, and it's got us to where we are, and I want to keep doing that. But at the same time, I'm like, can we add a little bit more, right? We've got the pot roast figured out. Let's add some sides. You know what I mean? Let's get some mashed potatoes, gravy. Let's get the green beans, whatever. And so what are you talking about, Brad? Well, bringing the podcast, Brad. Documenting the Comanche build in a different way than we've ever done it. Segmenting it. Is that a word? Doing it in segments, bringing it to shows, letting you follow it. And I got that idea because I was out at SEMA this year, and Steven, I was out there with him, and he's like, I've been watching this guy build this off-road motorcycle all year, and now it's here at SEMA. And I'm like, how do I capture that? Like I could build it on YouTube, and you can follow it, and then you can come out and see it before it's completely done, and you're seeing it in different steps, and we can talk about it, you can look at it, you're a part of it. My dad reached out to me today and was like, I want to be a part of this Comanche build. I don't even know. Maybe I want to own it at the end of this. I don't know. Like, this is exciting, and that's what I'm talking about right there. My dad's not an automotive enthusiast. He sees me doing something cool and wants to be a part of it. That's what I want to share with you guys, is bring you and be a part of it. So, how do I bring awareness of the things I'm doing out to people? Well, you've got to increase your followers. You've got to increase your reach. And so I write these goals down. And I also write them down for S3 Magazine because I'm a part of it. I think what they're doing is amazing. And so I've got goals. I'd like to see their business grow as well. I'm a part of it. I don't get paid in any way. I just do it out of passion, out of love, and what they mean to me. And then I like to bring my friends in the industry along with me as well, like Andy from CanCut. We worked so well together last year. We got to go and be in his booth at Jeep Beach and Jeep Invasion in Pigeon Forge, and I got to build his Jeep, and we got to do a JKS commercial together, and we hung out at SEMA, and it's just, I didn't even know that guy a few years ago, and now we're good friends in the industry, and we get to do cool things together. And so, like, what I'm already working on is a few more of those relationships that have kind of got a little ember burning, and we want to just build them into a full thing. And I'm so pumped and excited that I'm almost nervous and anxious, because there is so much going on that I think this is really going to be a fantastic year. And I can't wait to bring all that to you guys, and I can't wait to see what that does for my guys here at the shop. Every year, I don't want them to ask me for a raise. I want to go ahead and beat them to it. I want to get them paid a little bit better. I want to give them incentives. I want to bring them out to the trails with us. I want to get them out to the shows. It's been cool to watch Avery buy his own Jeep and build it. Like, that's what I'm excited about doing. And so it affects a lot of people in a lot of ways. And so that's kind of on my shoulders to not be sedimentary, to not be complacent, but to kind of push the bar and get out there. I've had folks like you guys tell me, like, we can't believe for how many YouTube videos you put out and how much I watch of you that you don't have more followers, you're not growing, and this is your time to go, like, subscribe, and share. And that's, I got to sit here and ask myself, like, what can I be doing better to build it up? And so I'm not going to tell you every single idea, but I've got my numbers here and the things that I want to work on throughout the year. And, these are, my wife, she loves that I have these, because, I sit down on the couch and I start telling her all these ideas. She's like, how do you have all this stuff in your head? And I'm like, I just have to write all these pages down of it. And even during the podcast, I thought, hey, you need to get an estimate out to Stephanie for a drive shaft. So let's write it down before we forget. This is what I do. I carry these little things with me. I know people use notes in their phones, and actually I gotta put it in this book. But that's what I got to do. And if you're someone who's got like ADD or something, or anxiety, or deal with it, man, writing stuff down that's in your head. First of all, praying to God, and if you believe in that, that's what I do. I pray and I put my stress on Him, and He helps me carry it. And then get it out of your brain, write it down, and then sometimes I sit down at my desk and I'm like, what should I be working on right now? Start working on that list, and it feels so good to scratch those things off of that list. And that's another thing we were talking about earlier. You're like, what I'm talking about. Response times and just giving time. Like, there's a whole page, 2 pages of things I got to do kind of before the end of the week, and there's a couple what are estimates, order parts, contact people, call them, and do follow-ups and things like that. And that's just the day in the life of this job, right? But when I get, it's funny because I get a text and I got to respond to this right now. I get email, I got to respond to this right now, and I'm like, you've had that person on your notepad for 2 days, and you should have already called them. But it's like squirrel, right? You're like, oh, there's not, oh, and you just, you bounce from one thing to another. That's just how I operate. So, we just got one more topic left to cover, and we've got it wrapped up here. One thing I'd like to highlight, every single podcast and video, is a different product I use off-road. So, I'm going to have to describe it to the best of my ability for those that are just listening, and I can show you visually on the YouTube channel. So what I've got in front of me today is a soft shackle. Now, you've probably heard of these. You might own one. You might use them. You might wonder, when do I use them and why do I use them and whatnot? If you're listening, let me try to describe it. It looks like a piece of rope. They're made by a lot of different companies. The one I'm holding is from OVS. I've got some in stock from Rugged Ridge and Warn. I've carried Crawltex brands. They're all kind of made differently, and there's different reasons you'd want different ones. You're going to need one that's perfect for the size and strength of what you might be recovering. And if you hear a train in the background or some cars, I'm right off of Main Street in Buford. We have a train, and we have cars driving by, so sorry, but it's authentic, right? And what it is, there's a little slip in it. You slide back, you take the tension off of this little hoop, and there's a ball on this rope, and you pull the ball out, and now you can attach it to a recovery strap, a kinetic rope, whatever, and then you put the ball back through. You tighten it up by pulling on it, or when the recovery rope pulls on it, and that tension of it being pulled tightens it up. Now this is made of a synthetic rope. Synthetic rope's taken the market. Everyone basically uses them now in winches. It's been used for a long time in rigging, like boats and climbing and things like that. This particular one has an abrasion thread, kind of a sleeve to kind of keep the rope safe. Some of them have that. Sometimes you don't want the abrasion sleeve on there if you're trying to fit it into a small diameter, like let's say a D-ring or a thimble for like Factor 55, thimble, flat link, something like that. It's really nice to have if you know you're going to be using it with like a flat strap. It's going to maybe possibly get dragged on the ground. But why do we use them, and when should we use them, and what's the pluses and minuses? Well, one plus is it's light. It's easy to throw them anywhere. They fold down. You can put them anywhere in your vehicle. They float in water. They're fairly expensive. This one, like I say, is $30 for sale in my shop. If you've ever hauled around a bow shackle, also known as a D-ring, they're heavy. They clang around. If you try to put them on your bumpers and you don't use the nice little rubber things that keep them from rattling, they'll rattle. They can get loose and fall off. They can get stolen. Now, I do have a solution for that I'll cover next time, called a moose knuckle shackle. But what I use them for particularly is to connect a recovery rope or winch line where I don't want a piece of metal. I'll explain that a little bit better. So if I'm winching, let's say I'm going from my vehicle to a tree, and I use a closed loop system. So I do. I use a mile marker thimble. You might be using a flat link from Factor 55. Smittybilt makes some. Or even if you're using a hook, and that hook doesn't fit through the eyelets of the tree saver. So tree saver is a rope, goes around a tree, so you're not wrapping your line around the tree. And let's say you're going to go through the two loops on the end, the eyelets. It'd be nice in that situation and not put a metal D-ring through it and hook up to it in the case that the rope breaks and your bow shackle or your D-ring goes flying through the air. Now you've got a piece of metal flying through the air. That is not safe. Okay? And another great use is, let's say you're needing to connect two ropes. If you use a D-ring to connect two ropes, again, if a rope breaks, you got one flying through the air. A negative of it is most aftermarket bumpers have D-rings welded in. D-ring tabs, a place to put your bow shackle, D-ring, whatever. And most of these soft shackles don't fit through them. Even if they do, the sharp edges on the side of them as they move left to right can become abrasive and cut and break them. So that's where, if I'm metal on metal, bumper to a D-ring, it's perfect. If the rope happens to break, that's no problem. The D-ring is going to stay attached to the bumper. If for some reason the D-ring breaks, which is very rare, but potentially could happen, most of it's going to stay attached to the bumper. There's a chance it could go flying through the air, but that's going to be a safe situation. So, did a recovery this past weekend. We hooked up to Avery's front bumper using a D-ring, and there was a Mahindra Roxor, which is a side-by-side made by Mahindra. It looks like a CJ5, and he had a toe loop on the back. If you put a D-ring on it, super loose, could slide side to side. You never want to pull a D-ring from an angle. So instead of like looping my kinetic rope to him, I used a D-ring in his little toe loop area, attached my line to it, went back to the D-ring sitting on that's attached to Avery's bumper, made a perfect recovery. And of course we'll cover kinetic ropes, flat straps, tree savers, winches, different types of bow shackles, things like that. But a soft shackle, if you looked in my recovery gear bag, you'd find a tree saver, a flat strap, a kinetic rope, at least two D-rings, two soft shackles, and I've got two why am I blanking here? Yeah, I've got nothing. They double the power of the winch, and you use them to change your angles. And I'll think of it in a second. We'll come back to it. The more I work and do and think, I can't think of names of things half the time. So let's come back to it. But anyways, I keep all that, and then I keep some other tools and different things like that. But there's always going to be those two soft shackles, and a lot of times I'm using them on other people's vehicles that don't have recovery points. I just need something that's bendable, malleable, that I can wrap around something. If I'm using snatch block, there we go. I got two different styles of snatch block in my kit at all times. So like, for instance, if I'm hooking up to a frame, an axle shaft, maybe a tow hook that's not like a D-ring, whatever, I'm using that. And it works great. Depending on what cover gear you have, you might can just go, like there's different thimbles and things that fit D-rings. There's receiver hitches that I got one on the shelf here that holds a soft shackle. The less you can use metal, the safer things are going to be. That's why we've all gone to synthetic winch line, and that's why I use a soft shackle. And I think it's a great piece to have. Now, I also think you should have some metal D-rings, and there's times and places to use them. But yeah, that's me covering that. So that is going to be it for the podcast today. I would like to take just a moment here, and I feel like I'm beating a dead horse. Let me get a little sip of water. Oh, man. We've got an hour here, and it went by super fast. It's like 9 o'clock here, and I got to get home. But this was the first one coming back. I used to record these on my phone in my closet at home, and I would just cover one topic. I feel like a little rushed to cover everything. I listen to podcasts a lot, so I watch other YouTubers a lot, and I like to take the things that I see they do well and then try to apply those to what I do. And so I love listening to the Truck Show podcasts, not trying to steal their format or whatever. They do it a little different than what I'm doing here right now. But I like to take these pieces and use them. So I think what's cool is we can cover some things you guys might want to know about. So leave those comments. You can always email me at info@blackbearoffroad.com. Just remember, there's a dash between off and road. So it's info at blackbear, like the animal, off-road.com. Black Bear Off-Road. It's the way it's grammatically spelled. And I didn't do that because I'm trying to be fancy. It's just there's some company in Australia that has the website I want. But anyway, so you can email me there. You can leave comments. I think with the podcast now, you can give us ratings. I'd love if you would. And but I'd love to hear some feedback, and I couldn't really get that before out of the podcast. So let's hear some feedback. News you like to hear, maybe different topics, different categories. You want some old war stories from me of off-road adventures, or you want to hear a certain thing or particular thing. Maybe you have a question, particular off-road question that I can answer for you. Don't be shy. Shoot those my way, and we'll be sure to cover them for you. I'd love for you guys to go check out Can Cut Drill Bits. They're not a sponsor of the show, but they help me out a lot. They make the highest quality drill bits on this market. Check out S3 Mag. And download that free app, and you can see content for myself, my buddy David Saddlebrook Windsor, Wooly, Mike, all the good folks over there. And we'd love to see you guys out at a Jeep Night in a show. Best way to find out about a trail ride, Jeep Night, any event like that is to hop on Facebook, check out the Black Bear Off-Road Trail Team. And if you're not on Facebook, you can still search this on Google, and we have listings posted up. In fact, I missed a whole segment of the show called Upcoming Shows, so I'll cover that right now. But we post anything we got coming up. So there's only like 2 things there right now. coming up this Sunday, which I won't do this on this show because I never know when you're going to listen to the podcast, but coming up this Sunday, Lifts and Loggers in Cartersville at Drowned Valley Brewing. He's my buddy. He puts on that show. Great show. But like things like that are listed. If I'm going to do a public trail ride, I'll put it on there. If we're going to do a barbecue at the shop, if we're going to do a Jeep night, those things are going a little slow right now because it's those cold winter months. As it ramps up and gets warmer, of course, we'll bring those things back. Of course, we'll have them at Elixir Brewing, Johnny's Pizza, maybe Bubba 33s like we did last year, and maybe somewhere new as well. I do want to cover a segment called Upcoming Shows to tell you guys about a show you may not have heard of or you have heard of, why I go. And of course, if I'm mentioning the show, it's because I'm going. So Save Expo, it's in Stark, Florida, which is, I think closest town's going to be Gainesville, pretty close to Ocala. So if you want to get out of the show and get your Jeep badge in Ocala, not too far away. It's held out at a place called The Firm, which is kind of a racetrack. It used to be an airfield. They have a rallycross course there. And for the show, they have an off-road obstacle course. The pictures and videos of it look awesome. I haven't been. My buddy over there at Scottles and Bottles, they've been trying to get me, George, to go out now for a while. And I'm going to be in the Can Cut booth. Andy goes, hey, they want me to sign up for this event. I can't go. I'm going to be at the Mac Tools show. But I've got one of my employees that can go. We just don't have anything to put in the booth. I know you like overlanding. If you want to go down there, camp in our booth, be set up there for the full time. It's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I'm like, I can definitely do Friday and Sunday. I'll be there. So we're going to get in there Thursday night, set up the overland setup, and camp in there all weekend long. If you're already planning on going, it looks like a great event. Can't wait to hang out with you. I'm hoping we get to go ride, potentially go to Ocala. I've been down there before. What we're going to do on Saturday is go visit my wife's grandmother. She lives about an hour and a half away, but she's 91. We don't get to see her that often. And so we're going to split out Saturday and maybe rent a car and go over and see her. But I'll be in the booth all day Friday, all day Sunday. And we'll be camping right there in the booth courts. I'll be back there Saturday night camping. And it looks like it's a big show. Overland scene isn't just Jeeps. It's all sorts of stuff, as you guys have seen. But it's fun if you're into camping, overlanding. Also, if you got the time, maybe go to Save Expo, hit the Georgia Adventure Trail down near Valdosta, ride it all the way up to Charlie's Creek. It takes you 3 or 4 days. Lots of fun camping and riding. But that's February 28th through the March the 2nd. Yours truly will be in the Can Cut Drill Bits booth. We'll be there all weekend, and we hope to see you there. Working on a night ride. I'll get that posted on the Black Bear Off-Road Trail team. And that's about it. It's been fun. I kind of almost just want to sit here and I feel like you guys are listening and hanging out with me. I'd like to sit in here for another hour and shoot the breeze. But, hey, we all got to go. We got lives, things to do. I appreciate you guys listening. And hope there's an adventure in your future. I'm Jeep and Bubba. Eat your prunes, and we'll be seeing you.